touch brought me back to life. Life had beaten me down to the third degree. You gave me strength to stand upright. Now with everything I am, I promise you I'll give you all you need, never leave you wanting for anything. When you close your eyes, I wanna hear your sighs, and know that you're thinking of me. Forever and always, I'll give you all you need. Just look at me now. Your love showed me how to believe in who I am. You support my dreams. Your love gives me wings. Without you, there is no plan. Now with everything I am, I promise you I'll give you all you need, never leave you wanting for anything. When you close your eyes, I wanna hear your sighs, know that you're thinking of me. Forever and always, I'll give you all you need, never leave you wanting for anything. When you close your eyes, I wanna hear your sighs, know that you're thinking of me. Forever and always, with all of my love, I'll give you all you need.
Hello, world, and welcome to Wolf's Den Radio today. Today, we're doing another Zoom COVID meeting with Mr. Drake Jensen. Drake is originally from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, up in the Glace Bay area, and now resides in the beautiful, beautiful province of Quebec, outside of the cities and the wonderful, wonderful nature out there. How are you doing, Drake?
I'm great, Wayne. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine, sir. And again, was great to see you the other night on CTV Live, there with them doing the Live at 5. And I thought maybe that we could talk a little bit more about what you were talking to them about.
Sure, yeah. I talked a lot to them, and, you know, they edit things out, of course, and we had quite the conversation, Katie and I. But yeah, it was all about our new project that I've started a foundation. It's called the Soaring Eagle Foundation, and it's going to be a donation foundation to allocate grants in rural communities of Nova Scotia to LGBTQ people.
Okay, and now that's something that's close to your heart. You were mentioning the other day that you did grow up in Glace Bay, which was a pretty tough little town probably back in the day when you were growing up there.
Yeah, well, 1976 when I first went to school, like I think it was 75, probably it was 76 when I went to school. It was rough. I remember my mother taking me to school and having my mother's hand, and I still remember, like, do you ever know, they say that human beings have this instinct that, you know, there's danger ahead, and you got your flight or fight syndrome, and then that's what happened to me. I ended up feeling very threatened. And I remember not feeling good that day. And that's one of the days that sticks out really in my mind when you talk about this stuff. This stuff has caused me like PTSD for years and anxiety. And I went through a really hard time in elementary and junior high, was particularly bad, and bad enough to put me in 20 years of therapy. So it was a really, really tough start. But I do believe that it's kind of made me the empathetic person that I am today. And it's probably one of the reasons why I wanted to particularly hone in on rural communities, because I think people like me that are, I'm not going to say we're different. I think everybody's the same. But I'm going to say LGBTQ people are sometimes singled out and are, looked upon as different by other people. I don't see myself as different than anybody else anymore. But a lot of people in rural communities are struggling, and there's not a lot of resources. And we all know that the rest of Canada gets funding. And a lot of the rural communities in Nova Scotia don't get very much at all. So the Rural Communities Foundation of Nova Scotia was kind of the right fit for me to affiliate myself with, because we needed a charitable organization to be able to come bring this umbrella under. Yeah. So we started the foundation and used the music as a vehicle. And here we are. And, I'm kind of a humanitarian, activist, artist, musician. I kind of fall under all those categories. So, but yeah, Glace Bay was a rough time. It was bad.
Well, when you're a little bit different than other people around you, there are people that they just prey on other people like that because that's just what they are, bullies. But then there's the other people that don't understand it and they're afraid of it. And so they figure, if they can't live with it, they got to kill it because they don't live with it. They don't understand it.
Yeah, it's fear, and it comes from, a lack of education. It also is stemmed rooted quite deeply in religion at home.
Yes.
Because, I was raised Roman Catholic, still kind of perpetuate Roman Catholic values, even though I don't really follow everything they believe. Yes. But I still have respect for how I was raised. And, my grandfather, who was a big part of the church at home, I learned to sing in the church. I grew up in music in the church. So it was a very large part of who I became later in life. There's so many things in Nova Scotia and Cape Breton that I'm attached to musically. And all of my influences, a lot of them come from Nova Scotia. I have lots of bad memories about Glace Bay and what happened at home and what set me on a trajectory in my life that was very different than everybody else's. But there's also a lot of very good memories from home. I recently lost my dad. He died at the regional hospital in Cape Breton a little under 2 months ago.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was really rough. We talk about COVID being rough, and we talk about, musicians having it rough. And, I just recently seen, I'm going to make a joke here, but I just recently seen, I don't know her name, but she was complaining about this hockey tournament being canceled. She ought to try saying goodbye to her father when he's crying in a hospital bed and not being able to be there.
Yeah.
And being on a Zoom call. I mean, the amount of entitlement sometimes just drives me absolutely crazy. But I have, a lot of good memories, and I'm very tied, even though I'm here in Quebec. And circumstances brought me here. It's just how it ended up. My heart is always at home.
And the foundation that you've got, most of the work that you've done so far has been in rural Nova Scotia.
Yeah, and that's not the only work I've done. Like, I've done shows. My first show that I did was years ago at the Savoy Theatre in Glace Bay, and we had a massive show, and we donated $12,000 to palliative care at the Cape Breton Regional. I did another show, it was 5 years ago, actually, and we donated over $1,000 to the Lighthouse Undercurrent Youth Group there. So my work has been, this is nothing new. I've been doing this for a while. It just hasn't been recognized. That's all.
Well, I guess maybe it just hasn't had the opportunity to come to the forefront because of circumstances and that. Now you have an opportunity to get that platform. And that's kind of one of the reasons, Drake, that we've got you here today, because we really want you to bring this to fruition. We want to see you grow this.
Yeah, like we need to raise like $6,000 is basically our goal. I think we're over 3,000 right now. So we've done really well. We had one really generous donor, Sherry McLeod from Cape Breton Realty, donated $1,000. But a lot of my fans donated, I think, 2,400 or something like that over the past few days. And we're getting downloads for the song. Which also goes towards that foundation also. But we need $6,000. I mean, my idea is once we get our $6,000 in the bank, we're going to be able to create 6 $1,000 grants.
Yes.
And then where they go, we're going to be able to decide that ourselves. But first we need the money because we all know nothing happens without money in the bank. So it's really, really important, I think, that people get the message that this is for Nova Scotia. I may not be there, but I'm always there in one way or another. My family are there. I spent 2 hours today on a Zoom call with my sister. So I'm constantly, attached somehow to Cape Breton, and I'm very, fond of Cape Breton. I think Cape Breton has suffered so much loss over the past 20 years. And I grew up with and watched the failing of the mines and the steel plant and the fisheries. And we always bounce back. And I think the song Rise Again was the perfect song that kind of fit in with the whole theme.
Well, it's kind of funny because the first message that I got with regards to you was a copy of the song Rise Again. And I've had the pleasure of hearing the Rankins do this, and I've heard other people do it many times over the years. But I've got to tell you that I got goosebumps listening to it, buddy.
Oh, I'm glad. That makes me happy.
I was just like, I even wrote back. Is it Lisa? I want to say.
I think it was Aaron that initially contacted you.
Okay. Anyway, I wrote them back and said, I've heard this song before, but never, ever, ever like that. And you know what? On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to listen to one of the songs that Drake Jensen has got out right now. And we're going to listen to that on CIOE 97.5, the home of East Coast music, and Wolf's Den Radio right here on great old YouTube. So we'll be right back in a couple of minutes. Thanks for stopping by.
Friday night, it's 1:45 and you're coming on strong. I can almost smell the whiskey through the phone. Did you change your mind one last time, realize you were wrong? Or did you call 'cause you don't wanna sleep alone? There'd be no harm in a little fun if we both moved on. When I'm staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. every night, 'cause my mind won't settle down, wondering what I did, what I could have said to make it right. Haunted by doubt, when the thought that I might never see you again about drives me to the edge. I can't just give my heart right back when it hurts like that. Got dragged out of this empty house one night last week by a girl from work for a friend to drink too. Her eyes were blue and she smiled like you, yes, she was sweet. When the moment came to make my move, I couldn't shake you loose. Kinda hard to rebound when I'm still on the way down. When I'm staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. every night, 'cause my mind won't settle down, wondering what what you could have said to make it right. You're haunted by doubt when the thought that you might never see me again about drives you to the edge. You can't just give your heart right back when it hurts like that. No, when it hurts like that. No, when it hurts like that.
Hey, folks, welcome back. That was Drake Jensen. We're so glad you're here today. We're going to go back and talk with Drake right now. So, Drake, that was awesome. Now, you've got your foundation. You're talking about being back in Cape Breton. Now, was there, like you said about the way the trajectory that your life went, was there one particular instance, my friend, that changed things and that made you get to a point where you said, okay, this is what I'm going to do?
No, I think it was kind of a series of calamities, to be honest. I knew I always, it started back in like preschool when everybody had to do something to graduate from preschool. And my dad had a John Denver record, and I loved John Denver. And so I wanted to sing at my preschool graduation. So that's what I did. It started there. I ended up playing in bands for years on the Cape Breton circuit. I played Rowley's Wharf, and I played the Main Event in Glace Bay, and I played the Crow Pub in Sydney like Rita McNeil did, and, did that whole circuit. For years, I played in bands and played rock music, and then ended up moving away from the island. After I came out, I moved to Moncton, New Brunswick, and was there for a few years. Didn't do much music. But then I ended up coming here. I met my husband and we first lived in Ottawa for a while. He's French-Canadian. And so we lived in Ottawa for a bit. And I, 10 years ago, kind of got the inkling really to want to dig in and take it on professionally. So I went to Nashville, Tennessee, after contacting an independent producer, one of the most prominent and independent producers in the city. And I went down for a meeting. We decided to record a record with them. And that was pretty much the birth of the first generation of my music. The most, I think, catalytic thing that happened was probably, there's a guy from Sydney Mines, Nova Scotia. His name is Alan Hubley. And he grew up, of course, in Sydney Mines, moved up here, ended up getting married up here, had a family up here, and he had a son. And his son was 16 years old, and he was being assaulted. He was being tortured in this high school. And apparently it got to the point where he couldn't take it anymore, and Alan's son took his own life. Oh. So Jamie died back in 2011. And at that point, I was 2 singles released from my first record, from the Nashville record. And I was just about to release the title track to the record called On My Way to Finding You. And I remember going to radio stations. We were kind of like Loretta Lynn and the Coal Miner's Daughter, where she went to radio stations, and we would visit radio stations, and they were starting to ask me personal questions. And I was getting uncomfortable because I didn't know what to say, because it's country music, and country music is, even to this day, still not, they're professing some type of inclusivity, but I'm still questioning how inclusive they really are. But the thing is, back then, this is 10 years ago, you didn't talk about that stuff. So I was starting to get uncomfortable. And then I decided that I would come out in music. And I think coming out in music was probably the thing that kind of made things go, whoa, like this way, because commercial success with my first record, I was accoladed by one of the biggest country music historians in Nashville. I was given a review by Robert K. Oermann, who works for Music Row magazine. He's a historian with the Country Music Hall of Fame. And he gave me the independent, basically Discovery Award of the month for best record. I was right at the top of Music Row magazine with Kelly Pickler. After I came out, I never got another review. And that's the kind of thing that happened to me. But on the other side, I decided to make a video when we released On My Way to Finding You that featured my husband in the video. And was it, you know, it was no Brokeback Mountain for sure.
Okay.
But it was progressive for the time, for 10 years ago. I mean, it showed us embracing in the video. There was nothing sexual. It was not like things are today, where stuff is so open today and things are very different in some ways, but not others. But anyway, so we released a song, we released a video with a preface to the video of me talking about Jamie Hubley and how many people like Jamie Hubley, how many people have to go through what Jamie Hubley went through, how many people have to go through what I went through, or Matthew Shepard went through, or how about the guy in Iran yesterday that got his head cut off by his family when he came out. You know, there's so many things that are left to be talked about. So when On My Way to Finding You came out, it made a really profound impact. And I made this really popular blog called Towleroad in New York City. And through that, I gained thousands of fans, and I reached thousands of LGBTQ people that are basically, they would be our age. So you've got these guys, you got to remember that gay guys that are our age have grown up having to discover themselves in the darkness, and by you know, underground clubs and cruising parks and stuff like that. We were never allowed to be ourselves. Yeah. So we have a lot of gay men that are my age and have a lot of, you know, mental issues and insecurity issues and anxiety about who they were and if their families found out, and everything was always hidden. So my fan base is kind of that demographic of men. And I get like 65, 70, you know, Facebook give me analytics when I do advertising, and 70% of my audience is male. Now, I welcome my female audience and I love my girls that I have that are my fans. But I think it's really important that I reach those guys and let those guys, that they see somebody that's 51 years old, that's as old as I am, that's still out there, that's still chasing the dream, living the dream, really. I live the dream. Yeah. So many great things have happened to me, you know, that a lot of people don't know about. Like I was the first LGBTQ gay country artist in the world to ever chart on a top 40 terrestrial radio chart. Nice. And yeah, it was great. I had a hit song a few years ago that was on the top 40 in Australia.
You're really big over there.
Yeah. I've gotten a ton of radio play in Australia.
What is it, 225 different radio ads you've had in Australia?
250 with the last song.
Wow. Even
so
still, you know. Yeah, so you're growing. You're actually growing since I read about it then.
Yeah. Like we get added to every pretty much major country network in Australia, which is the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, which is like CBC. Yeah. And then we have Kicks Country, which is like kind of like Rogers or Bell here. So I get added to Kicks. I get added to the other two major commercial networks too. So I get a lot of radio play there. They don't really care about my sexuality over there. Sometimes I get asked about it in interviews, but they just like good music. And I think I appreciate that. You know, I really want to talk. I always want to talk about who I am as a person, because I think people need to be educated on how normal my life really kind of is, you know. But over there, when I have interviews, like I've got an interview right after I get off here with you guys. I have an interview in Australia tonight, and, you know, they'll talk all about my music. They want to talk about Cape Breton, and, you know, they'll mention Rita McNeil or the Rankins and stuff like that. So it's really nice that it's very musical. Over here in Canada, I'm still fighting the machine. I'm still fighting the oppression in country music sometimes that is very prevalent still, I find, against LGBTQ people.
Well, I think and again, you know, I'm a person that believes in people. And to be really and truly honest with you, I really don't care what you do in your bedroom, and I really don't care who turns your crank. That doesn't mean anything to me. I'm more interested in the humanitarian part of you, the musical part of you. You know, I really believe that we've all got it in us to give a bit back, and I think that it's important that we give. I don't think it's necessary that we're always taking. I think that, people like yourself, you've lived the hardships, and there's people out there that are hurting, and they need to hear the message that you are giving them because they think that they're alone. And by you speaking up and by you being brave, they know, hey, you know what? I feel just like that. I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And by you being brave, maybe they can step up.
And so many people have. And
excellent.
I've gotten so many emails. We've gotten emails from people, like a flood of emails when On My Way to Finding You first came out. The people were shocked because I was one of the first people to ever really show anybody that in country music, and that is okay. Like, not everybody is like you and I. Like, I'm of the same mind way. I don't care what you do, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
You know what, Drake? I'm going to just stop you right there because we need to hear some more of your music, and we'll be back in 2 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to pick this conversation up right where we left it off because this is a good one. So thanks for sticking around at CIOE 97.5, the home of East Coast music, and we love having you here at Wolf's Den Radio. We'll be right back.
When the waves roll on over the water and the ocean cries, we look to our sons and daughters to explain our lives. As if a child could tell us why, that as sure as the sunrise, sure as the sea, sure as the wind in the trees, we rise again in the faces of our children. We rise again in the voices of our song. We rise again in the waves out on the ocean. And then we rise again. When the light grows dark, we're the forces of creation across the stormy sky. We look to reincarnation to explain our lives. As if a child could tell us why, that as sure as the sunrise, sure as the sea, sure as the wind in the trees, we rise again in the faces of our children. We rise again in the voices of our song. We rise again in the waves out on the ocean. And then we rise again. We rise again in the faces of our children. We rise again in the voices of our song. We rise again in the waves out on the ocean.
Thanks so much for sticking around, ladies and gentlemen. That was Drake Jensen. Now, Drake, we were having a conversation before the song, so, let's go right back there. Like I said, I'm not so, I wanted to have you on today because, like you said, you're still fighting the fight here that you shouldn't be fighting, okay? We should be able to sit down and talk completely and totally for an hour about your music. But you know what? You've got a federation that you've got started. You've got a project that you want to do. And I really think that it's important that people get to know, yes, you, because I think that's important. But I think we need to get onto your foundation and let people know exactly why that's so important to you.
Yeah, so when we created the foundation, so I always wanted to do something. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I had met Aaron Fraser, who has helped facilitate this, and then got introduced to the Rural Communities Foundation of Nova Scotia, and talked to them, come up with an idea on how to do this, and basically come up with a contract. We went through all the red tape and the paperwork and finally have the foundation. So what people do is they donate to the Soaring Eagle Foundation. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. You can do it through the RCF website. You can do it from to my Bandcamp. So that's where most people sell music these days. If you go download the song Rise Again, the minimum fee on Rise Again is $2. Most people are donating $5. Some people are donating $10. The whole idea is that if 5,000 people, give me $5, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're shooting for $6,000. We're halfway there. And basically what we're going to do once we get our money in the bank is then we're going to come to the table with the RCF and say, okay, we've got $6,000. We've got enough to make 6 $1,000 grants. Let's see who's out there, who's LGBTQ in these rural communities in Nova Scotia that need that $1,000. Because I'll tell you, back when I was in North Sydney and I was trying to record my first single in 2002, which I did, by the way, I forgot to mention that. I did have a song on radio in Cape Breton and Nova Scotia for a while in 2002. But I was, crying for money. It's so hard. People don't understand that as an independent musician, just to get the song digitally recorded is going to cost you $2,000.
Yep.
So, and that's, at a decent studio, you're going to pay around, $1,500 to $2,000 per track. And
Yep.
that's pretty inexpensive because in Nashville, it was almost $5,000 per track. So it's unbelievable how much things cost, and you've got so much talent. People often say, I don't know if you ever hear this, Wayne, but people often say, oh my God, he or she, or they were so good. And I don't know what happened to them. I don't know why they didn't keep going. Well, one of the reasons why a lot of people don't keep going is they don't have the money.
Exactly.
There's not enough funding for talent, and especially in Nova Scotia, we all know that Nova Scotia and Glace Bay and all of those small towns, they really, really get kind of lost in the shuffle of funding.
Yeah.
And it was one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this to light. And, this foundation has been started by me, but it is not about me. This foundation is about every person that needs that little bit of extra to get their art off the ground or to get their business off the ground. It could be anything. These grants are not just for music. They could be allocated to people that want to start a coffee shop. We don't know yet. We're not there yet, but we need the money. So I'm pleading to people to go on my Bandcamp and make a donation.
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly what we want them to do. Now, you had a big song back with Burn the Floor, did you not?
Yeah, that was big. That one was big in Australia. The diversity of the video got me. Actually, I was in a category with there's this organization called Country Queer, and it's basically a country organization for LGBTQ people, kind of like the Country Music Association of America and the one in Canada. Yeah. But it's just for LGBTQ people. And I was up against Shania Twain and Orville Peck, who done a video together, and then there was my video, and we beat them out. So I was really, really happy that we actually beat out Orville Peck and Shania Twain. Sorry, guys, really like your music, but glad we won. Burn the Floor was it was a real revelation for me because it was a very different sound. It was a dance track. The video was very sexually free, as one might say, that it kind of exploited the LGBTQ community and how we celebrate sexuality, which is very openly. And I'm kind of proud of that. I have no shame surrounding any of that stuff. The Country Music Associations in Canada wouldn't post it to their Facebook pages and give me accolades like they do everybody else with that video. But it got a lot of traction, a lot of views. It got added to 250, I think, radio stations in Australia. And it got over 105,000 streams on Spotify, which has been wonderful. So, yeah, Burn the Floor was a revelation. Interestingly enough, recorded in Berwick, Nova Scotia, written in Berwick, Nova Scotia, with a friend of mine at Maple Vale Studio in Berwick, Nova Scotia. His name is John Hemingway, who's another.
I was just about to say, I know that studio. That's John. Yeah, we've had John on the show, actually.
Yeah, so John and I wrote that song together.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's quite a revolutionary track because it also, took me into a different realm. On that track was the keyboard player from The Spoons, the famous Canadian band The Spoons, and Honeymoon Suite. That's Rob Cruz on that track.
Yeah, Rob Cruz, that's right. Yeah.
So Rob did all the synths for that track, and John did some. But yeah, I've been working with those guys, and a lot of people I work with are from Nova Scotia. I work with John. I also work with Jamie Folds, who's like 9-time Engineer of the Year with the ECMAs. My hit song that I had in Australia was recorded in Cape Breton, actually. So my biggest songs exceeded my Nashville recordings, which is really, really interesting because my biggest songs happened in Berwick, Nova Scotia and Sydney, Cape Breton.
There you go. Well, you know what? Listen, I keep telling people all the time, some of the best music in the entire world comes out of Atlantic Canada.
Listen, there's so much talent, and it's kind of like, I hate to use the word bubble because everybody thinks COVID, but there is this bubble in Atlantic Canada of these really great musicians. And I mean, my biggest influences in my career, most of them come from Nova Scotia. Like Rita was a massive influence on me. I think Rita's story was just such a story of hardship and plight, and how she deviated from music and then came back to music. It's very similar to mine.
Yeah.
And Rita had so much against her. She was stacked against the odds, and Rita was a prime example of what happens when really great prepared talent meets an opportunity. And you can never call it luck because it wasn't luck.
Didn't have anything to do with it.
No. And so there was Rita, and there was, Lenny Gallant, and we've got Anne Murray, and I could go on forever. So those are some of my biggest influences, really. Yeah.
I've been blessed. As a young man, I grew up in the city of Halifax, and I just happened to grow up at a time when music was exploding. And I was lucky enough to meet some of the performers that are today that are our legends and our icons. And I was lucky enough to meet them as a young man, as a teenager. Yeah. And then I went away from it for a long time, but I've been blessed. The music community has really, really welcomed me into their community, and I feel great. And it's kind of funny. You mentioned Rita. I went to school with Bruce Dixon, and Bruce played bass for many, many, many years, so the connections. I understand where you're coming from when you say the East Coast gave you a lot of that, because there is so much talent. Lenny Gallant, I mean, Terry Kelly.
Terry, oh my God, yes, Terry Kelly. Yeah,
Matt goes without saying, and Sam and Lane Francis is another hero of mine. Frank McKay. No, Nova Scotia, Dutchy, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. There's some amazing artists in New Brunswick. The Divorcees, Harry Mike Trask is up there now. A couple of the boys from the Backyard Devils are still living in New Brunswick. Mike Bigger, and I hope today is the day Mike Bigger is running for city council in Quispam Sis. So I hope tonight the results are in and that Mike wins. But you're right. The music community here is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's the Maritimes have a flourish of talent, and to be honest, like growing up, I was never quite accepted, but I'm kind of hoping that this will kind of be the beginning of me being able to be a little bit more of a part of the Nova Scotia music community.
I am really, really, really hoping that that this and the interview the other day are really going to get things started and get us off the go. We're going to listen to another tune, I think.
Awesome.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with another tune right here on the Wolf's Den on CIOE 97.5, the home of East Coast music.
Just a little more time is all we're asking for. 'Cause just a little more time could open closing doors. And just a little uncertainty can bring you down. And nobody wants to know you now, and nobody wants to show you how. So if you're lost and on your own, you can never surrender. And if your path won't lead you home, you can never surrender. And when the night is cold and dark, you can see light. 'Cause no one can take away your right to fight and to never surrender. Perseverance, we can get things done. Without a blind adherence that has conquered some. And nobody wants to know you now, and nobody wants to show you how. So if you're lost and on your own, you can never surrender. And if your path won't lead you home, you can never surrender. And when the night is cold and dark, you can see light. 'Cause no one can take away your right to fight and to never surrender, to never surrender. Oh, time is all we're asking for. We'll stand our ground, never surrender. No, we can never surrender. Oh, time is all we're asking for. We'll stand our ground, never surrender. No, we can never surrender.
Welcome back to the Wolf's Den, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Drake Jensen in the studio today. My tongue is just not working.
Yeah, I have those days too. It's mostly every day.
I remember emceeing a show one time, and I was standing up in front of the band, and I was getting ready to go, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for, and I thought, what's their name?
Who?
What's their name? And I had to turn around and look at the lead singer, and I go, what the hell is your guy's name? He goes, look at the bass drum. I looked down at the bass drum, seen the name, said, thanks, brother.
Always look at the bass drum. That's true, right?
But just one of those moments where my mind went blank. I thought,
you should be singing one of your own songs, and you're on stage and your mind goes blank.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
I was at a Rod Stewart concert, and he forgot the words to a song, and he said, you know what? He said, I've sang it so many times, I sang the words right out of my brain.
Oh yeah, that's what happens. You just draw blanks. I think, the pandemic doesn't help things. That's for sure. Yes.
So, okay, Drake, now speaking of pandemics and all of that stuff, around here, we're hoping that probably by June or the end of June or early July that we're going to be back on the roll here.
Yeah.
But what would you really like to see your world look like this year?
So I have a new record coming out. I have a brand new all Canadian cover record coming out. So it's got all Canadian songs on it. It's got a tribute to Lenny Gallant on it. It's got a tribute to Gordon Lightfoot on it. It's got a tribute to Anne Murray. It's got Rita McNeil's Working Man on it. And it's going to spawn probably the most video work I've ever done from any record. So that's going to be coming out in August. We've already released Corey Hart's Never Surrender from it. We also released Pieces of You by Lenny Gallant is out right now. And Lenny has always given us his nod, which has been really, really great. Thank you very much, Lenny. So that's coming out in August. And I think I have a brand new Christmas record coming out too.
Oh, right on. And now you also did a cover of one of Reba's songs, did you not?
Reba McEntire, I did, because she was a massive influence on me. I did You Lie by Reba McEntire, one of my favorite songs by her.
Yes, and now Iconic.
Iconic is the new record.
That is the new CD that's coming up?
That's going to be the new one, and it's also going to be released on vinyl from what we're planning right now.
And now you did a video and a single with Lisa Thompson out of Ottawa for Frontline Workers. That was last year in the pandemic, right?
That was released on New Year's Eve. Yeah, it was released New Year's Eve in 2019. That was Never Surrender. That really got a lot of traction. Another song that got over 100,000 streams on Spotify. So we had really good luck with that too.
Yeah, and it was Pieces of You over in Australia, the Lenny Gallant song that really, really took off over there. You kind of made that one your own, did you not?
Yeah, we did kind of a very kind of interesting country mesh kind of with pop. I'm a synth player, so I did all the synth programming and playing on that track. But then we also had Bruce Bouton, which is Garth Brooks' steel player.
Oh,
on that
beautiful.
Track. Bruce is he's probably one of the best steel players in Nashville. But Bruce plays on a lot of our stuff.
That's, one of my favorite instruments in the whole world. I love the sound of a steel.
Me too. And when you combine it with an electronic instrument, you get this very interesting kind of sound. And I think that's what most of the reviews said about the song, that it sounded so distinctly different because it was a very interesting combination of organic and inorganic instrumentation.
Well, you can't go wrong. When the vibe is there and the move and the groove hits you got to go with it, right? Doesn't matter how it comes about. I mean, music is vibrations, right?
Totally. And Lenny writes such great songs that, I did Which Way Does the River Run too, which I'll stem back. What happened with this record, how this record came about was I took a gig on Via Rail going from Toronto to Vancouver and Vancouver back to Toronto. And you sing on the train and you also sing in all the train stations. So they wanted me to learn, Canadian-esque music plus my own. So I sang my own music, which I have a lot of. And then I also sang cover music. And it was all these cover songs that people liked so much. I realized people were singing along to all this stuff. They knew the words. And then my guitar player and producer, my other one, who's from Cape Breton but lives in Ottawa, Jonathan Edwards, he said, well, why don't we do a record of this stuff? And that's where the whole idea came for the Iconic record.
Wow. I had a buddy here, Robert Campbell, did the same thing. Him and his wife, Kaylin, they traveled from Halifax to Vancouver on the train and performed all the way across and back. And that would be such a cool gig. Because you meet so many interesting people.
I met so many people that are still fans of mine. I got invited. I'm yet to be able to go. We got invited to Australia, to Queensland, Australia, by one of my fans, and she's still waiting for us to go down there. But yeah, I met a lot of people and realized how connective music is to humanity.
Yes. And you know what? Before we get any further in, because we've only got probably 5 or 6 minutes left in the show.
This went by too fast.
I know, man. We could talk for days.
Yeah.
But you know what? Listen, Drake, what I do want to say to you before anything gets any further is I want to say, on behalf of the musical community and on behalf of the community that you represent, thank you, sir. Because you know what? All we need is love. Okay, that's all we need is love. And music is a way for us to get love. And I want to thank you for being as brave as you've been and as strong as you've been, and for being the voice of a community that needs a strong voice. And you're an excellent voice for that community. And from me to you, personally, I just want to say thank you, because I have friends that have suffered and that have been beaten and that have been ostracized and that have been kicked out of their families, all because of the way that they were born and the way they feel. And they shouldn't have to be like that. So I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome. It kind of always felt like I never really planned this. At one point, I kind of figured I wanted to do something for the community. I never thought it would ever become this.
It's funny how when you put something out there to the universe, how the universe gives you something that you weren't expecting.
It completely responds, and I end up, what's been happening lately is I meet great folks like yourself and people who really understand what my mission is. My mission is not to force my sexuality on anybody or to make anybody try to understand what I do. But one of my really, I really want people just to get along.
Yep. You know what? Listen, my goal is that people just understand that we're all people. And you know what? You're not hurting me by doing what you do.
No.
And I'm not hurting you by doing what I do. I mean, we're living our lives. Okay. Yeah. The only thing that ever causes any problem is fear and misunderstanding.
And it's all based on fear. And I think going into rural Nova Scotia with these grants is going to be maybe a little bit of a challenge. I think that it's going to be an adventure. I think what I'd love to do is I'd like to come and do a tour and do all the rural communities and play music in these communities. I think that's what they need to figure out.
Well, if you need an MC, brother, you just let me know.
Listen, well, you got the voice for it, I'll tell you.
Well, that's what I do most of the time. I MC music festivals all summer long and cancer benefits and other kinds of benefits in the winter.
If you got anything, once COVID's over, if you got any suggestions, I'm more than willing to come down and play them.
Not a problem, brother. We will definitely. Yeah, that's definitely, we can certainly put you in contact with some people that may be able to just help you get your message out down here and get you a gig or two along the way.
That's kind of what I really need right now.
I
need that support from people that are gonna come on board. One person can't build a tower.
No. You know what? It takes, we've been saying this around here a lot lately. It really takes a village. And we've got a village growing here, and we've got a lot of people that are really supporting each other, really coming together to help those of us that are in a place right now where they need some help. So, I'd say come join the village, brother. We'd be glad to have you.
I'm in. Totally in. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your kind words too, Wayne. It means a lot to me.
Not a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what time of the day it is now, and you know where we're at in the show. And you know what I'm going to tell you. Please, please, please be kind to one another. Be nice. It's easy to do. And in these days right now, that's what the world really needs, is just people to be nice. Okay, so underneath of that mask smile, it'll show in your eyes, Hold that door for somebody still today. Don't worry about it. It's all good. And just love your brother and be good to people. And now, how can people find you, my friend? Where can they get you?
Oh, Facebook, Drake Jensen Music on Facebook. Instagram, Drake Jensen Official. Also on Twitter, Drake Jensen, type my name in. Once you type my name in, it'll come up in Google, and they can go download Rise Again, make a donation to the RCF through my Bandcamp, Drake Jensen Bandcamp. When they type in Drake Jensen Bandcamp, they'll see the song Rise Again come up. All they got to do is hit the song and make a donation.
Fantastic. Listen, my friend, been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on to the Wolf's Den. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and listen to Wolf's Den Radio once again. Please, please be nice to one another. Be kind. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you right back here next Monday. Now, stick around for the Coastal Connection.
It's been a long week, baby, come and see me, maybe. Let's try the weekend on. Everybody gather round and let's listen to the sound, 'cause we're all Friday bound. You've got your boots, your favorite blue jeans on. We're gonna paint the town from dusk till dawn. Get to the club and through the door, gonna hold the knock, gonna burn the floor wheel, burn the floor. I'll spin you around in do-si-do, 'cause Friday's gone before we know it. We'll burn the floor, we'll make our fire burn the floor. We'll be dancing every minute, put our heart and soul right in it to the DJ country sound. And I'll hold you even closer when the night is finally over and there's no one else around. You've got your boots, your favorite blue jeans on, and we paint the town from dusk till dawn. Get to the club and through the door, gonna hold the line, gonna burn the four-wheel, burn the floor. I'll spin you around in do-si-do, 'cause Friday's gone before we know it. We'll burn the floor, we'll make our fire burn the floor. You've got your boots, your favorite blue jeans on, and we paint the town from dusk till dawn. Get to the club and through the door, gonna overknock and burn the floor.